everybody? How's it hanging? How's it happening? You guys know what it is. This is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast. The podcast bringing the best emerging rock and metal bands to the best rock and metal fans out there for you guys to say, hey, I got in that band before they got big. This is awesome, for bragging rights. Or to get to know all the crazy fun stories from the biggest bands in the scene today for you to go, you know, that's pretty cool. Get to know even more about these bands. Welcome to the show, everybody. It is February 14th, and hardcore, metalcore, 90s and new metal influence, a lot of crazy stuff going on. Ooh, yeah, we got the German band Half Me on the podcast today for a lot of great stuff. But before we go into that, I want to thank our sponsor of the podcast, which is Phoenix Fitness. So, yep, we are getting back into concert season once again here in the United States because, you know, January is over. We're into February, and you got to get ready for these shows because you got to be mosh pit fit. Well, especially for me. You guys know me. I love jumping into mosh pits. I love doing this stuff on the daily. It's one of my favorite things, just like the podcast. So in order to make sure that I'm mosh pit fit, I got to make sure that I'm able to withstand the length of the pit from beginning of the show to end, not leave, and be able to deliver those hits that I need to be able to deliver because, you know, you don't want to just be knocked around, right? So the best thing for me to do is to go to the gym and achieve those fitness goals by working out, lifting, doing a lot of cardio, putting myself in position to be mosh pit fit. But I got to make sure I'm preparing and recovering right, too, because that's another important part of it to be able to continue to do this day in and day out. That's where Phoenix Fitness comes in, is they have many different supplements and products in order to help you achieve your fitness goals or be like me and get mosh pit fit. They have different types of pre-workouts, both stim and stim-free. I use the stim-free stuff because, well, let's be honest, I don't need any more energy than I already do. They also have different B-sub recovery compounds help you absorb nutrients directly after your workout. Types of creatine help you build muscle. Different types of protein, whey protein, collagen protein, plant-based protein. I use their chocolate malt whey protein because, well, that stuff actually tastes pretty good, not gonna lie. They have their multivitamins, literally anything you might need to your fitness goals. Phoenix Fitness has you. So our listeners get 20% off using the code CPP20 at fnxfit.com. Make sure for the podcast. Let's get mosh pit fit. Yeah. So now on to this podcast where we talk about the brand new album Soma, its crazy construction, and the drive and tenacity that you need in order to continue to, whether it's a band, whether it's your own business, whether it's anything you want to do in life, having the drive and tenacity and enjoying the process all throughout it. Are you guys ready for this one? Let's go! Yeah! Well, ladies and boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast. We're coming to you with a band all the way from Hamburg, Germany, and they're bringing their blend of modern metal and hardcore with a mix of like 90s new metal vibes there, which is like, okay, there's going to be a lot here, a good amount of aggressiveness, a good amount of creative sound. It's going to be fun to get into, so you're going to want to listen to it. The brand new album this band has out called Soma, which comes out on February 17th of 2023, is ready for you guys to go check out, so make sure that, you know, you're ready to go listen to it when it comes out, but before that happens, we can talk to the band, get to know them, and talk about the album, and have a good time. So please welcome Chris and Chris from the band Half Me to the podcast. So to the Chris's, welcome to the Chord Progression Podcast.
Hey, man. What up?
Hey.
Thanks for having us,
man.
Thanks for being on, guys. How has everything been going in your world as of late? As, you know, you're getting close to the album release date. Everything's getting set up for that. How has everything been going on your end?
It's pretty exciting. It's a lot of stress, a lot of work to do inside the band and with the people we work with. But it's exciting. It's lots of new shit coming, and we're pretty excited to have it out on February 17th.
I mean, it would be something that you have to be excited about. You know, you've got a brand new album coming out. You guys, of course, if I remember correctly, this is your debut album, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. It's the first one.
So now I know where it adds a little bit more to that anxiousness and that nervousness because, you know, this is the first full length that's coming out from you guys. People are actually able to get like that large sample size, that large feeling of what is Half Me about outside of just a couple of singles. So everyone starts to really get a feel for what the band is, form their own connection with it, and really get to have that like chance to sink their teeth into everything you guys have to offer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, before we started the single rollout with The Rising, we had singles where we, with every single, we try out a new direction. And now with this album, we really have sorted out our own style, our own take on the genre of metalcore. And it's pretty cool to have like a really long 10-track product of music within our bags, and to finally found our way of making music. So that's pretty cool.
So with the singles that came before Soma, you said you kind of tried a bunch of different things. Was that to really figure out exactly where your sound was coming from and to experiment so that you guys could really get a feeling of how do we all work together? How does our sound work together? And when it comes to really forming that, that debut album, when we put it out in the world, this is where our sound is coming from. This is where the core of it is. And now we can branch out from there. Was that really where the discovery part of this whole entire thing was from?
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. I think most of it was like we're a new band. We have everything, like our books are open. We can do everything we want, and trying out new stuff with every release we got until there was really shaping our point of view and our craftsmanship, because also we did everything by ourselves. It was all DIY, from mixing, mastering, video, and songwriting, and all of that. So it really shaped us and made a great foundation to what the album now is going to be.
So I kind of want to jump a little bit more into the singles that you guys had done in the past, specifically when it came to that DIY stuff that you guys had done, where you wrote everything yourself, recorded it, mixed it, mastered it, produced it, every aspect of it. Going into Soma and all of a sudden working with a larger team as well. Now with that experience in the back end, maybe you weren't as good as some other people were, because there's people that specialize in this kind of stuff. But with that experience, it allows you to understand the process more, understand how certain things work, so that when it comes to writing the music that you want to write, and it comes to having things come out the way you want them to come out, produce the way you want to produce, and sound the way you want to sound on that master track, then you have an idea of, okay, this piece goes here, this piece works like this. So you have a more further understanding of how this whole entire process works in terms of the creation of Half Me's music in more of that, debut album, full-length album, professional setting instead of the DIY roots.
Yeah, 100%. Like we tried out so many different things. Like we tried out different people to work with, like before the album, like before even writing the album. We've had like a couple different people who mixed our songs. We've had some videos shot like with different people. It just like adds to all the experience that we try to gain. And I think like right now we're at a pretty nice spot where we are like still like fresh to the scene, I guess, or like fresh to the industry. But at the same time, we're still like trying to grind it out by ourselves.
Yeah. And also like with doing it ourselves in the past, we kind of looked behind the curtain of how things are going to be done, and it helped to understand what we really need when we work with other people. So what are the expectations and the requirements of like the person that shoots the video for us or mixes the song for us, so we still have the creative control over our songs, and not giving any responsibilities to other guys just because we can't do it by ourselves. So that's pretty it gives us a lot of freedom to do our art. So that's cool.
It doesn't just give you the freedom to do art, it also gives you the freedom of that knowledge base where, especially in the music industry, I've had a couple of conversations about this recently where there have been many times where people have been kind of taken advantage of or scammed by other people in the music industry. They're just trying to make money based on, they say they can provide certain things. They say they can fully mix, master, maybe shoot the best video. But when it comes down to it, they necessarily cannot provide that. And they don't provide it in a way that you guys want to provide that, or have that provided, I should say. And then you guys end up losing money on it. It puts the band further back at certain times, and you don't get the quality of content that you want out in the world. But where this idea came from, where you guys are, focused in on being able to do this yourselves at times, being able to go out and get the help you need, but understanding what all goes into it, and still having that DIY feel where you're still constantly hungry, where you are tenacious enough to go after the people that you want to go after in terms of working with, in terms of being able to help out with this project. What happens at that is it maintains that mindset of, this is still our thing. This is still our baby. This is still exactly what we want to do. On top of that, we're not going to let someone come in and say they can do things without checking through it, making sure that it's exactly the way that we want it to be. before, you know, making a big decision on it when it comes to music production, mixing, mastering, videos, distribution, whatever it might be. That hunger you guys still have inside of you guys, and that drive you still have inside you guys, that kind of like underdog, you know, we're still coming up, young buck mentality is still very important to have, because once those bigger bands get to that point and like that drive just goes out of their eyes, that look goes out of their eyes, it seems like at times, you know, maybe some more of the money that they're making ends up getting lost to people that are just kind of there to take a little bit of it.
Yeah, like, dude, we've made so many mistakes as well. And I feel like that's really important for us as well. And like for any band that's starting out, to like make mistakes and learn from them. Like, to me, that's like the best way to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. And like also when you come to dead ends, when we work with other people, and then not like giving up or being, okay, we just need another person to do it, and like have the mindset to then do it ourselves, really push this forward to give like the most we can into our music, even though it means having stress with it, having time consuming weekends and weeks and stuff with it, so
weeknights even.
But it's still, but when you really love what you do and really grow with it, I think that's the best way any band can grow with it, when they really start doing it by themselves, because that's where like the whole creativity comes from, and where you grow as a band. I mean, I don't say we're a grown band. I think we're still newcomers, but I think for the creative process, it's really, really helpful to make it as much as possible by yourselves.
Oh, absolutely. And I think one thing that you said, Chris, too, when it came to, you guys have made a lot of mistakes in the past as well. Any creative person, whether it's a band, an artist, myself for a podcast, whether it comes to anybody that's creating something and they're having that DIY aspect of it, naturally there's going to be mistakes that come in. We can look at history, we can look at other people that have done it, we can get as much advice as possible, and we can see some of the pitfalls that other people have had, but we don't learn as well unless we make those mistakes ourselves. I'm not saying make every single mistake, but what I'm saying is, for everyone else that's out there, you can learn as much as possible. You can go through and hear all the advice from other people that have done successful things in the music scene, but you're going to end up making mistakes on your own every now and again. And the key is to learn from them so that you can not make that mistake again, see how that mistake affected you in the long term, and prevent that from happening and make a better decision when it comes to, again, working on your music, writing it, getting it produced, getting it mixed, mastered, videos, distribution, everything around there. And you know, at times it does consist of those long days, those long weekends where you're constantly putting the work in this, those long weeknights when you're just wanting to go to bed because, you know, oh man, you got to go to work in the morning still to still support yourself until this whole entire thing takes off. But you have to have that drive and tenacity to keep going forward. Otherwise, you know, what you have created for you with Half Me, it's never going to go anywhere unless you're tenacious enough to continue on when you want to just, you know, call it quits for the day and put it off to the next day. Because if you call it quits for that day and you put it off to the next day, that time that you had during that day to work on this and potentially make a massive improvement on the situation that you guys have at hand and improve the spot that you're in, that time frame is gone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like you waking up at 5:30 in the morning to do a podcast, like the same shit. It's like the grind needs to be done.
So taking a look at the grind that you guys have been on, what have been some like the more difficult challenges that you guys have come from when it came to starting the band to getting to your first full-length album? What are some of those challenges that you guys have faced outside of the pandemic? Because we all went through the pandemic, and I think everyone's a little bit tired of hearing about, you know, COVID and everything. Like, you know, let's leave that one in the past for a little bit.
Yeah. COVID, what?
I think for songwriting, from a songwriting perspective, I think the most challenging part of it was like perfectionism, like wanting to have like the 10 out of 10 songs, 10 out of 10 album. Every single needs to be like the massive masterpiece you imagine it to be, and overcoming those overcoming the little devil on your shoulder telling it's not perfect enough, it's not good enough, was a process. because like some songs are like years old, and when you grind it over and over again, you start to lose like the perspective on like a fresh listener would listen to it. I think that was a pretty big part. Finding a common ground when it comes to songwriting, because you're always 5 people in a band, and 5 different tastes come together. But I think we managed to find a way where we all are more than happy with the songs we now written. I think
Definitely.
for me as a songwriter, perfectionism and like finding a sound that really fits us all was the most challenging part for me.
I think for a band as a whole, like we've been like I don't want to say struggling, but it's definitely getting used to like working with deadlines. Like when you're producing an album, like when you're actually signing to a record label that you've always wanted to sign on, it's kind of like, damn, now like we've worked our asses off until we're here, and now like it feels like the real like the real work. I'm sorry, just begins, you know. So it kind of is like working with deadlines and all that, like getting to know lots of different people, like improving your communication skills and just generally like improving your skills as a band, like each in their own like little profession. Like that's been definitely a challenge. And I wouldn't want to say that we're like through this. I think that's like more of a progress, like a process. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I think looking at it not just as a like a weekend hobby where you just have fun
Yeah.
in the rehearsal room, but now it's like a project. I won't say I wouldn't say it is like a part-time job, but it's really time consuming now, and it's really with deadlines, with business context, with responsibilities, with like money involved, with all of this, it gained another level of like seriousness, I would say, and not in a bad way, but it's just not just fun anymore, and just like drinking beer in a rehearsal
Nah,
room.
it's still fun, dude.
It's
For
fun,
me,
yeah,
it's still
but
fun for sure.
yeah,
And
but it's
also
not.
you gotta like see we're all coming from different like amateur level bands, so we're not really used to doing all that shit, you know.
Yeah.
So just like getting used to putting in the hours, that itself is a step that like uh, I wish I would have told my like 18-year-old self, so that it's more prepared, kind of like.
Yeah, and for now, I think another struggle is like juggling this time frames between like full-time jobs and other responsibilities and other events and friends and family and stuff. Um, I think that's also a big part of it now. I mean, it's not a big problem, but getting used to it and getting used to having your calendar really fully booked with band stuff and the other stuff is really it's different from like it's like a student band that just jams on the weekend.
See, now that makes a lot of sense. And I think the best thing that you said about there was the biggest thing is, your schedule's going to be complete full. It's going to change. And it's not necessarily the fact that it's going to be the way, it's getting used to it, because you take a look at, maybe what your friends' schedules look like, your family's schedule looks like, and you want to be a part of that. And if you're working a full-time job and that's kind of all you're doing, like just kind of go with that, very stereotypical, very standard lifestyle of, you have a full-time job and then you go to work, you go home after that, and then you have all this free time to do, what you want to do with family, friends, everything around there. And you don't have anything else really added on there. So you have the time to be able to work alongside so many people. You get to see so many other people because you have that schedule. However, when it comes to having a band, and when it's, not just a hobby, when it's not just something that you jam with guys on the weekends, when this is something that is absolutely serious, that you are driven to do, when it's your dream, it's your passion, it becomes another job as well. It's called the music business for a reason, because in your band, it is a business. You have different, like you said, business contacts. You have a record label with a record contract. You have contacts there. You have obligations when it comes to writing music, when it comes to recording process, you have obligation when it comes to that mixing mastering, when it comes to making all the content that helps the band out in terms of videos, doing things like this.
Concert tours, all of that. I mean, video shoots. We had like video shoots where we shot until 4 a.m. in the morning. Next day we have another other obligations and stuff. So I think that's a big part of it. And when you still involved in the process with video making, I mean, I shot and edited 2 of the releases for Soma, and Chris is doing all the marketing because he's a freelance marketer. That's adding onto it, like that's another like segment of time we need to schedule in. And yeah, it was stressful, but we are all just happy and really proud of it, of us and of the album. So.
And if you're not happy with it, you're not driven on it, then you're not going to be that successful band. Because when it comes to those bands that have really hit it big and the ones that are successful, that are going out touring and are, you know, surviving and thriving, all based off of the workings of the band. Those are the bands that, you know, when they were young and they were just starting out, they went through every possible thing they could do in order to get to that point. They put in all those long hours. They're the ones that put in the extra time as well. They're the ones that had to sacrifice, you know, missing out time with your family, time with your friends. You want to go hang out with your friends and maybe go out for a night, but you had to get, you know, you were working on a song and you needed to get it done. What was going to be more important, you know, maybe going out with your friends one night and having a good time, or finishing that song? I'm not saying never go out with your friends, because you want to make sure you have that perfect balance in your life of, absolutely, you know, relationships with family and friends, being able to enjoy life while also putting in all the work as possible. It's all about really finding that balance. And when you guys find that balance and are able to put your full energy into the band, while also being able to put your full energy into the relationships that you have, family and friends, everything else, and not have, you know, all that, like, not have that burnout happen, or have that perfect balance of, I have this. I have all the energy to do all these things, and I have separated them out in a way that it works for me, in a way that works for my passion and my vision as well when it comes to Half Me. Then you guys have set it up to the point where you put yourself in a position to be one of those successful bands where you're going out on the road, you're touring constantly. You guys are having a blast with this because, of course, you know, if it wasn't fun, who would do this? You know, if it wasn't fun, who would put themselves in this position? But to be able to go out and put yourself out there, have a blast with this, and have this be your passion, and make your living off of this and enjoy life as much as possible, that's a struggle that a lot of bands every band has to go through. But it's a struggle that not a lot of bands get through in the end and make it to the other side. So you have to have that tenacity and that drive to continue to go on, even when you hit those roadblocks, even when you hit those points where you just kind of want to, like, man, I just want to stop. You got to just keep going at that point if you really want this, and you have that drive and the tenacity to keep doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a big part for me personally is that I think for the project Half Me, it was never intended for me personally to have like a big impact with it. I just wanted to have like really great songs. I just wanted to jam with. I wanted to be like fully satisfied with the artistic process of it, and just wanted to let it grow, not with the big numbers in mind, but just as a personal project where I can grow with it. And I think that's also a big part when you have a band, when you just see the end goal and just want to have like this step done, or when I get to the record label, I'm happy with it. And I think now being on a record label, I think it really opened our eyes that like the record label itself is not just like a goal or the end goal. It's just the proof of you're a band that works on itself, and we are eager to help you out, or to work with you together to grow you more as a band. Not like the record label saves our lives, or like pushes us up to the sky, like number wise. And I think that's a pretty important part of when you do the work. Do it for the art and for the music, and for yourself, not just for numbers and for reach.
Yeah.
See, now
And
that
definitely
makes,
like for the excitement as well. Like
Yeah,
if we
absolutely.
wouldn't be excited to like fucking play shows or tours even, then I guess we wouldn't just do it.
Yeah.
Like we're not like I said earlier, we're not 18-year-old youngsters anymore. Like we're still fucking hungry and we want to get it, you know. But like we try to be as strategic as we can with it at the same time, so that we just like be efficient and like doing as much as we can from our ends. Like that's I think the best way to like, if you want to say invest your time in it.
Being
Yeah.
realistic,
Yeah.
and humble, but still hungry. I think that's
Yeah.
like rounds it up.
oh yeah, you have to have that hunger still in there, but I did like you say, Chris, when you have to have that, like, you know, you just have to be realistic about it as well, because when you're 18 and you're doing this stuff, you know, it seems like you have the whole world in front of you, and you can get by with a lot of like smaller things as well, because when you're 18, it's, you know, your responsibilities as an adult are incredibly minimal, because you never had
Yeah.
anything,
Jesus.
you know, beforehand. It was, you're a kid, you're living with your parents, you're going to school, and that was your responsibility.
I
Now when
miss
you're
those times.
yeah, so now
Sometimes
now
I
when
miss
you're
those
out,
times.
so now, yeah, everyone misses those times where, you know, you could have the ability to do anything, and you had the responsibility of nothing added onto it. But of course, as time goes on, you know, in order to feed your passion, in order to feed your drive, in order to, you know, feed into the fact that, you know, you need to support yourself in some way to be able to continue to make music, you got to be able to make money at some point. Of course, you're gonna have to get a job while you continue to build on this, so responsibilities come in there. All of a sudden, you never know what else. Family responsibilities. You might end up in a relationship, you might get married, you might have kids, so there's more things that get piled on top of there. So you're going to have those responsibilities continue to work alongside your passion with music and trying to be able to build something off of it. But you're going to have to balance everything out as well, so that you can, again, be as effective as possible in each and every aspect. And the one other thing that you said too, when it came to, you know, you don't want to just do this and have like, okay, we got to get to this point. This is the goal. This is the goal. If you're constantly chasing the next goal, and you're trying to say, if once we hit this is where, you know, we're going to get to that point where we're going to be happy, we can enjoy this. You're never going to enjoy it if you're constantly thinking that the next point of the process is the part that you're going to enjoy. If you're enjoying that process of getting to that point, if you're enjoying the process of grinding it out, making the music, playing those live shows, creating those interactions between people and the band as well in that live setting, having people go crazy as all hell in mosh pits to you guys. I mean, if you're not enjoying that, then you're never going to enjoy it. If you're enjoying the little things about this, then you're going to enjoy every aspect about it. And in the end, even those aspects that seem like the struggles, the grind, and just the like, oh man, you know, this is kind of tough. In the end, those would be the aspects you look back and you're like, you know, it was tough, but that was still a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely. Like before every release, I think my most anticipated time of the process is like before the release, just before the release. Like the 2 days before the release is like my most fun time for the release, and like when it comes out and people react to it. But I think every time I hear a song after it's released, I just lose interest and want to do the next thing, and not like gain all the attention it gets. And I think that's also a big part. Like, love the process, love like doing what you do with the music, and not just look on the releases and the attention it gets.
Well, then once summer releases, you know, I know those couple of days before summer releases, you're going to be all excited. You're going to be real happy and jacked up. But then once summer releases, what's your mindset going to be like? Are you going to just be like, okay, you know, now it's out there. People are listening to it. People are jamming to it. People are liking it. Now we got on to the next thing. Is that where your mindset's going to go?
He's already I'm not gonna spoil, but he's already writing new songs, so I guess that's where his mind is at.
I mean, I'm not the one doing the marketing in the band. That's like the other Chris doing. So I think he's the one that starts his engines when the releases come. But for me, it's like, I just lose interest after the release. I don't know why it is that way, but after it gets out, I'm just like, Jesus, I heard this like 200 times. I need to have something new.
See, I can understand that, but there's also comes another piece here that really stands out to me, and is something that every band needs to understand as well. Whether you're the biggest band in the world, you're just a band that's coming up, or even where you guys are, where it's your first release ever. as a full-time record. I say you guys have released music before, but your first release is a full-time record. When it comes down to it, it's every member of the band is going to have different responsibilities. Every member of the band is going to have a different mindset, and their minds are going to work differently in terms of what they get most excited about and the parts of the process where they're like, not really for me. So being all excited, continuing to create these songs, go through the process of it, and then right as it's about to come out, and all of a sudden, I'm already working on new songs. It's like, we've worked on these so long. I've heard these. But then you got the other Chris here who's gets his engines revved up and is marketing this stuff and is really going full force into it. Yeah. You're differentiating between what people are excited about, what people are good at, what gets them going around the process of making music, being in a band. And by differentiating and kind of sharing those, and I'm trying to think of a good way, like divvying out all of those expectations and all those duties. What happens is you find the people in the band that are more suitable for that, where they get excited about that. So when you're working on this stuff, when it comes to writing the music, producing the music, marketing it, getting it out there, in every process from whenever you create the song and you first conceptualize it till its release, you're in a point where whoever's working in there is going to continue to have that hunger and that drive to go the extra mile and isn't just doing it based off of obligation. It's a very smart thing to do that successful bands do, successful businesses do, and that mindset is something that's going to be something that takes you guys far in the long run.
I think circling back to the DIY phase of our band, I think that comes from there, where I wrote the songs, our other guitarist recorded, produced the songs, mixed and mastered it. I done the video, Chris done the marketing. I think because we are used to making this progress of phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, where everyone has a different responsibility. I think that comes from there. And for now, we really separated where the work areas are. I mean, I'm just for video and for songwriting. Chris does the lyrics and the whole marketing stuff. Our other guitarist is for the whole producing stuff responsible. We have one that does just finance and the drums. So by focusing on the aspects of the band, and by having just one person reliable for this, I think it makes this decisions more efficient and more easy to come, and it just clears up the whole bunch of information that comes in for a band like us.
Yeah, and it just builds momentum as well.
Yeah,
it just builds speed. So we can make decisions way more quick, or we can get out songs way more quick. Compared to when we just started out and everyone was all over the place,
Yeah, everyone had an opinion on the little steps, and that just held us back.
The small little details. But that's also I think that's based on the fear of doing this mistake or doing this mistake, and everyone's so afraid to not do shit in the end, and we're here to do something, right? So yeah, that's kind of where I'm where I'm coming from.
That's the point of perfectionism we talked about. That's the lesson we learned.
Yeah, really, screw that.
Yeah, because even bringing it back to the perfectionism aspect of it, if you're so concerned about making the right decision, constantly having the debates with everyone, and it's we want to make the right decision so we don't make that mistake and we don't get put in that position, the fear of just making that decision and the fear of potentially what could happen is going to be a main driver in not making the right decision or not making a decision at all, or taking so much time to make that decision that the decision you guys might make in that aspect might be the right decision a month ago. But now it's the wrong decision because you kept debating about it and you're afraid to make that decision because you want it to be absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
You're
just never going to know.
Yeah, you kind of just ruined it, that aspect. I mean, there's another time too where I've heard the story from my favorite band, Rise Against, where their most popular song, Savior, they want their lead singer Tim Ackroyd wanted to cut it from the record because when he was working with it, all of a sudden he changed up a certain melody or a certain pattern in the chorus and he didn't feel as connected to it, and he didn't want to put it on there because it didn't sound perfect to him. But they end up putting it out there anyway. He's it's the song I connect with the least on the record, but it's the song that the fans connect with the most. So even at times, if you might want it to be absolutely perfect, you might want to have that thing sound perfect to you, but just because it doesn't sound absolutely perfect or the decision doesn't seem like the absolute perfect thing, you're trying to constantly find the thing that's going to be the without an unequivocal best decision. You know, you might have already stumbled upon it. You might have stumbled upon it, but because you're so focused in on something else, that time just goes by, and then whatever you created kind of just gets lost in the shuffle then.
Yeah. You're just never gonna know. Like, for example, we've just dropped a song called Ex Negativo, and we've had a feature guest on it, and like we just were super fine with how the feature was placed and like where in the song it is, and we're all like super happy with it. So we just want to just put it out. Like we don't give a shit if anybody thinks that's the right spot or not. And like now it's out, and we've heard some people say like I wouldn't put the feature part like where it is right now. Like I would change this and that, but if we wouldn't like make this decision like quickly, or just like get to the point where we are like, yeah, let's get it, let's do it like this, then we still would probably have not put out this song yet. You know what?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
Yeah, you guys might still be in the studio trying to put this thing together, and
right.
Soma doesn't come out for another 6-7 months, and then by that time 2023 it would have been mostly past. And when it came to getting Half Me's name out there once again, when it came to playing live shows, when it came to getting more new music out there, based on that perfection aspect, you guys may have come out with a record at a time when so many other bands are coming out with records where it's a lot harder to get noticed in terms of notoriety, in terms of people getting into it, because Friday comes along, it's always new release day, and the last thing you want to do is have your album all of a sudden get pushed back further and further and be on a release day where it was like in 2022, it's like a release day where you're having to compete with Varials, Lorna Shore, Nothing More, and We Came as Romans all on the same day.
Yeah, absolutely. And another part of it is I also read like comments where they really loved how we sectioned like the feature, where they really loved that we just used him or used Marcus for the verse and nothing else. And that proves to me you can never please anyone. And when you can't do that, why not do just shit you love? Like even if it's weird is just another word for like unique and shit that nobody else does. So.
Yeah, because you want to take a look at my notes that I put on for Ex Negativo as well, because when you brought Marcus into there as well, I understand where some people are coming from, where it's, oh man, this feature doesn't necessarily, it feels like it doesn't make sense here. But I think a lot of the reason might be is because as music lovers and as music listeners, we're always used to the feature coming in literally at the exact same spot, and it's always usually in the bridge, where it's just, that class absolutely fits here. But you guys, it was like once the verses kicked in, all of a sudden, here comes Marcus, and it was just like, oh, this is a little different. But it's something that cues in, and what I really liked about it as well, because his vocal style ended up contrasting against Chris's, and it provided this heavier feel to like the decisions that were being made in this entire song as well, from where I was looking at it from like a theoretical and a lyrical perspective. It just, the difference between the two already starting out, especially the beginning of the song, it stands out to create such a dichotomy and a differentiation between when it comes to one sound being not as heavy as the other. And it's an interesting balance and contrast where it stuck out better than if it would have been, we're listening to this song, okay, first verse, pre-chorus, chorus, second verse, pre-chorus, chorus. All right, here comes Marcus in the bridge to give us a little bit of a different feel. Then the chorus comes in once again. It's been tried and true so many times. Don't get me wrong, it's a great formula because it's worked so well, but that doesn't work all the time.
I think a big part of us was like thinking this was the best way, was it's still our debut album. It's not a track where we want to just put focus on having a feature and like clinging to another artist and to gain like attention for it. It's still a song from us. It's still it's still our debut, and having the part in the beginning with Marcus was so like fitting that he was on the verses, because it had like a really hardcore feel to it, and we wanted to have like just a segment and where he gets to shine and puts his style and his art into the song. And after that, we wanted to not get the spotlight back, but you know what I mean. It's like it's still our product, and I think a lot of features are just there to like connect,
just to have them, like
Just
to have them, just to
yeah.
have the name,
That's
just
what I
to
wanted
like
to say. Yeah.
get the promo, just to get the like extra likes and clicks and all that and views. But it's really been like I've been listening to Marcus's old band like since 2014. Like I've been a fan of his vocal style since like almost 10 years now. So it's really been this as well, like having him on this part. Like it was when we wrote the song, I remember we were like, dude, we got to get Marcus on that. And I mean, you've heard the album. This is pretty much the only feature that's on it. So it's really not about just having a big name or having a feature. It was just like having this guy would be sick. And so we just like, yeah, let's fucking do it. Let's ask him.
Having an artist that fits our music was like the most important thing of it.
Oh, absolutely. And I understand where other people can come from too, where it's, you know, a lot of times, you know, people have features, especially bands that are upcoming and emerging. They have songs that have features from some bigger artists as well. And those artists do work in those songs as well. But there are times where you can tell it's like, okay, this feature is definitely being played out there because of the connectivity between, you know, how it's going to drive people to the album. And I think, and the only example I've really found of like, you know, where I've heard it called out like that, but also the feature worked really, really well was the band 1000 Below. They came out with the album called Hell Finds You Everywhere at the beginning of December for 2022. And the first song, it was the titular song, but it featured Noah Sebastian from Bad Omens. And with how big Bad Omens is, you know, it's a complete draw. And it's like, okay, you know, you're going to want to take a look at this. You listen to the song and Noah's feature on it really brings forward a different perspective on the song as well. Yeah. So it absolutely fits in. But at the same time, when I talked to James from the band, well, he's like, yeah, we put that out there first because one, who puts a feature out there first, it does stand out. And it's just something that help gain attention. But again, the feature has to work out as well in order for it to absolutely balance out. So when it came to you guys, you know, you're putting the feature in there because it's something that you guys want and something that works for you guys in terms of how the song is being presented, how you want this whole entire story from Ex Negativo to be presented to us as listeners. And it creates that dichotomy again and that differentiation between Chris's vocal style and Mark's vocal style. So we get two different perspectives on the song at the exact same time. However, it's not just there to be like, we're having this here to sell records. No. Because if you just have a feature in there to sell records, which when you look at it, there's a lot of times we can see that happen. It's those features end up falling rather flat because the whole entire connectivity, the whole entire collaboration style is just the feeling of the song just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, and I think Marcus also told us that it was his first feature, like after like creating Throne, and he decided to do it just because it was like having his own part, not being on the pit call before the breakdown, not being like presented as an extra, just I think for me it feels like a cooperation between Chris and Marcus for the song. It's not like that Marcus is there to just support it. It's more like he has his part in this song because he needs to be there.
Yeah, and with having his part and feel like he needs to be there as well. When you listen to the song, it feels like he fits right in there because the mindset is in there, the believability is in there from him and you guys. The passion is both in there from him and you guys as well. It stands to reason that, you know, the feature was in there because the feature helped make the song better. It helped make the song what it is. And because both parties between the band members of Half Me and Marcus as well really collaborated well on this, and you gave him a part where it didn't seem like it was just add in there. It was something that, you know, he could create. It was actually more of a full part of the song instead of you get the bridge and that's it. No. You get something like this and it stands out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when it comes to the rest of Soma as well, because I know, you know, it comes out on the 17th, what other songs are you guys really excited for people to get a chance to listen to and really sink their teeth into? Because I'm always curious to hear what you guys are like, okay, this song I'm excited for people to hear. I'm not asking you for like, what's your favorite song on the record? Because asking for a band to pick their favorite song on the record is like asking a parent to pick their favorite child. They're just not going to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the next single that comes out with the album release, I mean, it's not a single, it's just a release. I Am But a Guest in Exile is for me pretty exciting because it rounds up lyrically and like thematically the whole concept of the album. Because we started with Trauma Culture introducing like the theme of the album, and that gives it like a end and like a finale kind of vibe. And it's also like a pretty different kind of songwriting style. So I'm pretty excited to hear what the people think of it. That's for me. I don't know what Chris.
No, definitely.
Yeah, Chris. What other song what song would you say are you most excited about too? Because I would also like to go in a little bit of what Chris just said around I'm not a guest, but I'm but a guest in exile.
Yeah, sure. Like that song is definitely like on my top 3, I guess. Like top 3 children, if you want to say so, out of the 10 or 12 songs. I'm kind of like I'm kind of like a sucker for like electronic parts as well. So we got a song on the album called Chord, and this one's got like some electronics going on, and I like that a lot as well. And what I also like really love was working on the interludes, kind of like, we've worked with friends of ours and with Jonathan Dolis from Concrete Studios, and he's been bringing in some like real like crazy stuff for the interlude, for like one of the interludes. And then another friend of us brought in some like orchestra stuff for the second interlude I'm talking about. And yeah, I like interludes, so that's, I don't know, that's maybe like a random pick, but definitely those.
See, I can see that as well, especially with that first instrumental interlude we had with Zenit, because when I'm thinking, looking at my notes in it right now, it was like, it had more of that electronic feel to it because it's like, there's some electronic tapping to it, a higher pitch that sounds kind of instrumental, but then the guitars and the more electronics in the back get heavier to build kind of what's to come. And it kind of felt like that leading moment I was kind of thinking about The Matrix and that leading moment when all of a sudden like Neo's about to exit the Matrix for the first time and wakes up and sees the real world. It was like getting to that moment. And as an interlude, I'm like, okay, I'm starting to feel this feeling of this build, this energy build going into Proxy right afterwards. And my hope was, I kind of feel a little bit of this interlude in terms of the transitional period, how Itch for the Cure by Bring Me the Horizon, their post-human survival horror EP in 2020, then all of a sudden led into Kingslayer, which featured Baby Metal, and I love the song Kingslayer, but if you have Itch for the Cure beforehand and then go into it, your mindset is so much more amped up for it. Yeah. And it was the same thing here, because I'm listening to Proxy, I was like, okay, when it comes to that Zenit transition instrumental, you've got this new feeling of just like, we're coming out of this, we're coming to something even grander, we're coming to some big realization or coming to some big sound. And then Proxy hits, and it's like it takes it right where it leaves off and keeps driving with it to the next step, which made total sense to me. I'm like, I don't really want to listen to Proxy unless Zenit's in front of it, man. I don't want to do it.
Nice.
And then even going into, of course, I Am But a Guest in Exile, when it came to me listening to it, I'm like, this has a little bit of a different flair and a different feel to it, because listen to your guys' styles. Well, of course, we get that metalcore sound there. We get the hardcore sound there. We get the new metal and 90s influence this one. But this one, I'm like, this is a little bit different because it had a little bit more of like this thrash metal influence with more of this modern metal plus hardcore style. And it really created something, a little bit different on the album, but also still really cool in the end. Kind of like, we're returning back from some sort of abyss with a vengeance.
Yeah, I think that song definitely hit like from a songwriting perspective, the sweet spot, like being modern, being like metal, but not like metalcore, and like this combination of old kind of like beats and drum patterns with modern backings and like electronics is kind of the way I really love to see the band at, like being as simple as possible, but as exciting as possible with like old kind of patterns with modern influences. And that's what I really like about the song, because it mixes so much into one kind of track.
Yeah, I'll say kind of like executing your creativity in the simplest manner, in terms of you have all these different ideas, all these different influences you guys work within. So you guys have the ability to create so many different sounds and styles with your music, with all of these influences that you have. And of course, you're going to want to make them work together to come out with something that you really are passionate about and really makes sense to you guys when it comes to, we want this song out in the world. But the biggest issue that bands that have that kind of style run into is, how do you make everything run together? How do you make everything work together? And then what you guys did, it's like, we know what we're doing. We're just going to keep this stuff simple so that we're not constantly having these complexities where we're going from one spot of the song to the next. And these massive transitions have to happen in order to get you to that point where we can go from this spot to this spot to this spot, and all the influences are still there. All the sound that we want is still there. But from a listener's perspective, we're just flowing from one spot to the next, and we're able to just go from beginning to end and really get lost in it without having to make these sharp left turns in our mind. Like, okay, now we got to go to this way. Now we got to go this way. Where are we going? No. It's like all these different influences. It's like, instead of like going these sharp turns, it's like we're taking these nice curves and we're drifting around them. It's like, we're having fun with this.
Yeah. Being like, being as simple as possible, and having still like this push and pull effect with the song, and being a solid record. It's pretty hard to combine all of that. It's not easy. But I think with the album, we wanted to have like 10 tracks that feel good to hear one after another, because I think a lot of metal tracks point to an end where they all need to be heavy. They all need to be groundbreaking and smash in the face. And I think with a 10-track album, it's different to lead the listener from beginning to end. And so you have to really make the turn smooth and not as extreme and heavy. So yeah. I appreciate that you listened to, and heard it. Yeah.
Oh, you're very welcome. But another reason why I think bands have been doing that a lot more lately, when it comes to having those grander feels to it, those heavier feels to it, and when you listen to an album, it doesn't necessarily sound like it fully is cohesive one to the next. I think another big reason behind that too is just the way that music is consumed these days, and the way that music is, really released. Because when it comes to streaming services, you've seen more and more artists just do the singles route or do the EP route. So these songs, it's like, they're kind of microcosms within themselves. They don't really come together and mesh necessarily as fully well on an album, to the point where if you're trying to play these in a live setting, you're going from one to the next. Sometimes it can sound a little clunky because the idea, the mindset, and the whole entire energy-driven style from these songs, they might not necessarily match up together, but people want to hear this one after this one, so you got to put it on the set list, and you could be going from super duper heavy to all of a sudden, okay, now we're going to bring it down, heavy, down. It's just the energy can go all the way up and down, and by the time people are at the end of it, it's like, we're kind of exhausted because we're constantly going from, let's go and do this motherfucker, to now I'm sad.
Yeah, absolutely.
But when it comes to what you guys especially did with Soma, when it comes to flowing every aspect through it, I mean, the album flows from one spot to the next. You guys are creating this experience that goes from one spot to the next. And when you're listening to it as well, I mean, the heaviness is there. The energy is there from that metalcore, hardcore inspiration with that new metal 90s vibe as well. All that energy is there. And if that energy wasn't there, then would we be this energetic at this early in the morning if, I hadn't listened to the album before we started this? Well, maybe I would have been. I don't know. But, it definitely helped. I'll put it that way.
Nice. That's good. I think another part was like we were used to releasing singles one after another, and every single had like 3 months time in between where we can work on just one song. And now creating one whole LP as a whole, and with a theme that really strings from beginning to an end and connects everything, I think that was a challenge. And I think for us, we really are all happy how we turned the table and how we created it. And for our debut album, I think we're all pretty happy, but still not thinking that's the end, and excited to push more forward.
Hey, if you guys weren't happy with it, then there'd be no point in releasing it if you guys didn't enjoy it. So that's always a big thing to remember.
That's not what I was saying. I think being humble and being like not saying it's the best album ever released. That's what I wanted to say. It's at a point where we're all eager to release it and really happy to have it there, and where we all think that it really created a new level, a new like fundamental stage of creativity for us. I think that's what I wanted to say, kind of.
All right, gotcha. I understand where you're coming from. One other thing
Still a banger album, though.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, still a banger album. Let's not discount that. One other thing before we wrap this up is one song releases on September, or that's not September, screw that. I'm already thinking way too late. February 17th, 2023. I'm gonna blame my morning brain on that one.
Yeah, that's fine.
We'll just knock it a little bit. But after the album is released, of course, there's still the rest of the year to go. So once it comes out, once it's released, what other plans do you guys have for 2023 going forward, so that everyone that listens to the album that gets into Half Me can be excited and like, oh, we get even more stuff still coming from them, whether it's, live dates, whether it's being able to, be in those mosh pits for you guys going absolutely ape crazy. Maybe it's something, cool still happen later in the year. If you guys can't give any specifics, I totally understand, but what else you guys got coming up after the release of Soma to, keep this train and keep this momentum going?
Yeah, so there's not too much stuff we can specifically announce yet, but there's definitely going to be a lot more live shows. Like we're a European band, so like for the European audience, that's especially important for them. Like playing all over Germany, of course. Like we're touring for this album as well. We're putting out some new merch and all that shit, and we got the vinyls. We got everything revolving around the whole goddamn album, and yeah, we're pretty excited to just like have it out there and present it as much as we can, like play nice shows, play a couple festivals this summer. So that's where we're headed, and as I said earlier, this crazy guy is already writing the new stuff, so there's always something new in the pipeline.
Always something new in the pipeline. Just keeping up with good old Limp Bizkit. Just keep rolling.
That's what I'm talking about.
Hey man, there's no knocking the Limp Bizkit. I mean, in the end, we're all just doing this for the nookie.
The nookie, love it.
Oh, I can't help it, man. If I could throw a Limp Bizkit reference in there, I'm going to. But I mean, that just makes it more exciting especially from the European fan aspect of it, because they're gonna get a chance to see you guys perform live at some point during this year. Given the dates you're gonna be performing on, given the tours you might be going on, given some festival dates you might be playing as well.
Yeah.
And once it comes out too, it's just gonna be, people are going to get into it. People are going to enjoy it. It's going to be like, when's the next Half Me record coming out? And all of a sudden, Chris can be saying there, sitting, I'm currently writing stuff for it. I've been writing stuff for the next one for a while. So, the machine that we've created, the machine that is Half Me, our passion, it doesn't stop. It just keeps going and keeps going. It's not like we put out a record. It's like, okay, now we're just going to sit on that one for a while. You're constantly creating. You're constantly keeping that momentum going. You're constantly keeping the passion up with it as well. And it's going to be something where that continued passion, that continued drive, that continued tenacity in order to continue to build this band and build to where you want it to be is going to be the thing that keeps you going and gets you closer and closer to that every step of the way. It's going to put you in a great position to do it. You guys just got to keep putting in the work to do it. And it seems like you guys are more than willing and more than able and more than continuing to do that.
We will.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And also you guys in the US, you keep spinning our shit. Like that's insane. Like we got so many listeners from the US. We really appreciate that. And who knows what's coming next.
Yeah.
What can I say? There's a lot of people in the US that love heavy music. I love it. I'm talking to you guys and I love this stuff. So
obviously.
if I'm not doing a podcast, my other favorite place to be is in the middle of a crowd. All of a sudden, band goes on stage, and you see that crowd open up, and it's like, okay, people are ready to go crazy on each other. Yeah, I'm the one that's in the middle of that whole entire thing.
Nice. the best guys in the crowd. Yeah, love it.
Yeah, man.
We will happily throw ourselves into each other. We will happily be throwing shoulders, push each other. If someone gets knocked down, someone's getting picked right back up, and by the end of the show, people are high-fiving each other, hugging each other, because even if it's heavy music, even if it's aggressive, it's still something that connects us all, and it's still a whole family vibe. And you guys, what you created with Soma, man, I want to see that live. I want to be in those pits. Like, need some more money to go over to Europe now.
Let's make it happen.
Yes, please.
Let's make it happen. Well, guys, as we bring this podcast to its conclusion, one thing I'd like to do at the end of the episode is give my guest, which is both the Chris's in this a chance to say whatever you guys want to say, plug wherever you want to plug, promote whatever you want to promote at the end of the episode. So, guys, the floor is yours.
Man, I wouldn't know where to start. Like, we got so many people to shout out. I think they all know who they are. Like, we've worked with so many incredible people creating this album. So, yeah, I'm just gonna leave it where it is. Shout out to the guys at the Rising Empire, of course,
Yes.
for having us on and like putting in the work together with us. That's fucking insane. And yeah, keep spinning our shit.
Go listen to Soma.
Yeah, man.
Keep spinning it. Keep rolling.
Keep rolling. Yeah. And shout out to you to having us like in
Yeah, man.
5:30 in the morning. That's grind. I love
That's
it.
nuts, man.
Hey, it was 100% worth it. It was going to be 100% worth it. Even, before we even started, I'm like, this is worth it. And at the end of the episode, yeah, it was worth it. There's no doubt about it. So now it's time for me to close this podcast with 3 things. Remember, Soma by Half Me comes out on February 17th. So the best thing to do at that time is start to follow the band online. Make sure you're spinning that shit. Make sure you're streaming it, pre-saving the album, pre-ordering them, ordering some merch, getting ready to see these guys live. Just following them on everything you can. So best way to do that is go to the description of the podcast, say find Half Me online. There's going to be links and labels for social media accounts where you can watch the YouTube videos, where you can go get some merch, where you can go make sure you're in the know when it comes to them announcing live shows, where they're going to play, where you can get tickets, and where you can pre-order Soma, where you can, save it, all that kind of stuff, where you can stream it when it comes out, where it will be. So go down there, click and share, click save, click subscribe, click buy, click follow, click stream, whatever it is. It's all there for you. I'm literally doing all the legwork for you. All you got to do is click. It's that simple. It is that simple.
You're doing a fantastic job in promoting this, man. I feel kind of bad for it now. Like, you're even doing better than us.
Hey,
like, but yo, to anyone listening right now, like, if you've made it this far in the podcast, send us a DM and tell us what your favorite Limp Bizkit song is right now.
Ooh,
do it.
That's a good idea.
Do it.
I'm a big fan of Rollin'. I'm just gonna put it right there. I'm a big fan of Rollin'.
Yeah.
Or break stuff, because who doesn't like break stuff at the same time?
Break stuff for me.
Yes.
100%. I just saw a video of Limp Bizkit like on like Facebook, recommended it to me, like from 1994 or something. Like, they've been super heavy back then already. Like, dude, what the fuck? I like, yeah, well, that was crazy already back then. So
Godfathers of new metal.
Yeah, man.
Hell yeah. All right, now it's time for my second thing, and I'm glad we brought up Limp Bizkit with this. So whenever I have a guest on the podcast, I enjoy having on the podcast, I tend to make a certain promise to them as a way to say thank you for being on the podcast, and as a way for me to say I'd like to continue to support the band in the future. And you guys are continuing this trend of me having to make this promise, so thank you for that. So my promise to you guys is this. It starts out with when. When implies that this is going to happen. We just have to have a date and time. When I get to see you guys perform live for the first time, because I'm going to be the crazy dude in the pit going absolutely ape crazy. So my promise to you guys is this. When I see you perform live for the first time, first round's on me.
Nice. Lovely.
Second round on us.
Yep. So hold me to that. If I see you guys, see you guys perform live, I'll make my way over the merch. He'll be like, "Hi guys." He'll be like, "Oh, hey, what's up? You getting that first round?" I'll turn around and go to the bar and be like, "I got you guys, but I gotta get your order. What can I say? I don't want to give you guys like, oh yeah, here's a shot you might not have wanted. No, if you want a drink, I'll get you a freaking drink."
That's nice.
That's what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
And we'll just get the second round right after.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Sounds good. And now as we bring this podcast to conclusion, I cannot in all good conscience end it by saying goodbye, because that is way too final. I made you guys a promise to see you perform live, and I will make good on that promise. First round's on me, of course. And this is not the time I'd like to have you guys in the podcast. I would love to have you guys back on again in the future, because this was a lot of fun to talk to you guys, and I do not want to have this be a one-off thing. So, is this goodbye?
Nah.
Nope. This is I'll see you later.
See you later.
Well, folks, that was my interview with Chris and Chris from the band Half Me out of Germany. And, of course, now it's time for the new segment, which is Kevin's final thought. Really, one thing that stuck out to me was when it came to Half Me was just the fact that they said, you know, even when they're continuing to do this stuff, even as they're not 18 years old anymore, as the responsibilities come in, as different parts of the business come in for the music industry, you know, they have to have this certain drive and this certain tenacity in order to continue to do the things they want to do, in order to continue to maximize on their lives, basically, because you have different responsibilities, you know, family, friends, and work, whatever it might be. And I relate to that as well because, you know, when it comes to the podcast, I love doing this stuff. This is my favorite thing to do. It is a lot of hard work, just like being in a band. Well, maybe being in a band is harder. I mean, because there's a lot of other things that go into it at the exact same time as well. Traveling, touring, working with a bunch of other people at the exact same time, collaborating, all that good stuff. But what stood out to me from this conversation was when they're talking about the drive and the tenacity to continue to do this stuff, that you still need it there, that you still need to be driven for it, even with all that stuff there, because at that point in time, then you're going to be able to look through and work out exactly how you're going to be able to do these things. You're going to be able to look and understand what the perfect balance is for all of these things as well. You need to find that perfect balance in order to be able to go after everything you want in life. Can you have that drive to it? Can you have that passion to do it? Not get bogged down by the perfectionist aspect of it. And in the end, think about this too. There's going to be plenty of people out there, plenty of other artists, plenty of other creatives out there that are going to try and, you know, achieve the same goal you are, because a lot of us want to achieve the same stuff. We want to find that happiness for ourselves. We want to create stuff for ourselves. We want to be as creative as possible. But you have to continue to work at it as hard and as possible as you did right when you started, when you were your most inspired, when you were most hungry for it. Finding a way to keep that hunger, find a way to keep that drive is very, very infectious. Think about the Rocky movies as well. I mean, you look at, you know, when Rocky 1 and Rocky 2, again, now I'm going a little bit movies. Rocky 1, Rocky 2, I mean, he was, you know, not in the best position in terms of financial status. I mean, down on his luck, really struggling through it, and the drive to continue to win is what put him over the top. Then you go to Rocky 3 with the first fight with Clubber Lang, when now, as Mickey said, Rocky, you got civilized. So it was that drive and that look in his eye, that passion, that tenacity, that aggression to keep going after your dreams. It wasn't there anymore, and he got beat in the second round. Then all of a sudden, you know, he's training with Apollo and doesn't have that drive and tenacity. But then when he gets it back, I mean, you see what happens. So it's all about maintaining that drive, tenacity, and that focus to really, really keep it going. And that's, I think, the thing to take away from here. No matter what happens, keep that drive, keep that focus, keep that tenacity. Are we keeping that drive, focus, tenacity? I woke up and did this podcast at 5:30 in the morning before work. Yeah. I got a full day ahead of me too after this, but it's the best way to start out the day. Be sure to follow along with Half Me on social media as well, because the Soma is coming out on February 17th. So the best way to do that is go straight to the podcast where it says find Half Me online, links, labels, everything for you guys to get into the band, follow along, subscribe to them, watch YouTube videos, buy some merch, and of course, pre-save and download the album as well. Pre-order the album or stream it and listen to it when it's out. You know, it's all down there for you. Please follow along with the Chord Progression Podcast as well. Please subscribe. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Podcasts, iHeart Radio, so you get all these podcasts and enjoy every minute of it and learn more about your favorite bands, learn more about just life in general, and just have a blast with it. Also, follow along with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok as well for little snippets of the podcast for you guys to get in bite-sized chunks at the exact same time as well. Find out what other bands are coming to the podcast, talk with us, connect with us, and join us on our Wednesday live stream on Instagram every single Wednesday at 9 p.m. Central. Also want to thank Phoenix Fitness for sponsoring this podcast. 20% off using the code CPP20 at fnxfit.com. Links for the podcast. Thank you guys from Half Me once again. I will see you guys in the pit. And that's going to be for you guys. Thank you for watching, listening to the Chord Progression Podcast. My name is Kevin, and you guys know how I end every single one of the big, healthy, hearty. See ya! Yeah.